me that he was going to beat me, and then I told him I was going to break his mouth and I was going to take his belt, and taking the challenge that nobody wants to take, and just proving all the people wrong, all the people that think he's going to beat me, proving all of them wrong, and just solidifying myself as the most dangerous fighter.
Hey, what's up? This is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Who's ready for some fighting words? In this video, I want to do a fight breakdown for David Benavidez versus David Morrell. Really quick, if you like the videos, please take the time right now. Subscribe to the channel. It just takes one click. Just click that button. Also, while you're at it, hit that thumbs up button. It does help. It shows love and it supports the channel. So if you're unfamiliar with how I do a fight breakdown, basically I take both guys, I put them side by side, I run down a list of attributes. Whoever has more points in the end, that's the individual that I'm going to go with. So let's jump into this. We're going to start off with power. He's got more power. So when I look at their tell sheets, we have David Morrell with 11 fights, 9 KOs, 0 losses. Impressive. Then we have David Benavidez, 29 fights, 24 KOs, 0 losses. Very impressive. Okay, we go with power. Well, I'm going to go with the guy who has more knockouts, obviously. I'm going to go with David Benavidez. But not just because of the numbers. Let's talk about who he's faced. Well, he's taken out 2 people in particular that I'm thinking about that puts him, above David Morrell. That's Caleb Plant. And that is Demetrius Andrade. I think those 2 are going to be a recurring theme when we look through this fight breakdown. But just having those 2 names alone says a lot about David Benavidez. It shows a lot about his perseverance. It shows a lot about just his ability to take punishment. And it shows a lot of his thinking, because Caleb Plant is not an easy puzzle to solve. Neither is Demetrius Andrade. So for him to get both of those guys out of there says a lot about him. But I'm going to throw one more thing on here when we talk about power. David Benavidez used to be the sparring partner for Triple G. And this is when he was a teenager. All right, he wasn't even a pro, and he was sparring the guy. That says a lot about him when we want to talk about power. If you could keep a guy like that off of you while you're not even legally allowed to drive or vote, that says a lot about him, and it says a lot about his power. Got to go with David Benavidez when it comes to power. Let's see. Boxing IQ. Again, I just said they're going to be a recurring theme, and here we go. I have David Benavidez when it comes to boxing IQ. Why? Because he has more fights, and that means he has more experience. That means he has more time in the ring. He has more time invested in the ring, and he's learned more. He's faced more matchups, more styles. But in particular, he's faced guys like that. Demetrius Andrade and Caleb Plant. Those guys are wizards in the ring. They're very hard to figure out. Demetrius Andrade is very unorthodox. Kind of hard to figure out. Then you have Caleb Plant, sweet hands. He's smooth. He's very, very slick. And if you can catch up with the guy, that says a lot about you. So when I look at boxing IQ, got to go with David Benavidez. Got to go with David Benavidez. Now, I know a lot of people would say, well, all he does is stalk people down. Okay, that's fine if he's just stalking them down, but nonetheless, let's go that route. He stalks people down. Does he catch them? Yeah. Does he get rid of them? Yeah. What are we talking about? Done. All right, so next we're going to go with speed. They might be a tie with this. Morrell's not slow, but Benavidez is really not slow. His hands are not slow. For his size, his hand speed is kind of remarkable. His hand speed, he's not a slow guy. I think Morrell's overall fast. I think, with his leg speed as well, I think he's overall fast. But if we're just talking about hands, I would go with David Benavidez. But since I'm talking about overall speed, including footwork, then I got to go with David Morrell. Let's see, defense. I go Morrell. David Benavidez is not a hard guy to hit. He's just not. He's not a hard guy to hit, So, yeah, I would definitely go with Morrell. At least he poses more of a defense, or he has a defense that fluctuates, meaning it will adapt, it'll change due to opponent or due to how much punishment he's taken or how much he's trying not to take. While you look at David Benavidez, it's pretty much just a high guard and he's just marching forward. You know, it's just a sword and shield. That's pretty much what's going on with him. So got to give it to David Morrell when it comes to defense. Mental toughness.
11 knockouts. Morrell 7-0 with 6 KOs, 45. He has entered round 12 and he got knocked down.
I'm going to David Benavidez. Why? Because he has more fights. Why? Because he was sparring Triple G. Why? Because he beat Caleb Plant. Why? Because he beat Demetrius Andrade. Why? Because he's been calling out the so-called pound-for-pound king of boxing, Canelo Alvarez, for about 4 years now, and with no result. And yet he's still doing it. He wants the top guys. He wants to beat the top guys, and he has not relented from that. And for that reason, you got to give him all due props and all due respect. Got to go with David Benavidez when it comes to mental toughness. Let's see. Bodywork is a better body puncher. David Benavidez. That dude will destroy your body. David Benavidez. I think he's a much better body puncher. I think he's relentless is what he is. He's relentless. Throws a ton of punches, and he's only going to warm up as the rounds go by. So I got to go with David Benavidez. Range work. Who's better at range? I think they're even right there. Honestly, I think they're even right there. I think Morrell can beat you up. I mean, he can fight on the inside, but I think his bread and butter is out to range with Morrell at range. Yeah, he's a lot slicker than David Benavidez. Better defense as well. I'm not going to call him a sniper, but he's a lot more deadly at range. If anything that I would advise for him and his team is don't get caught up into a fight. You know, yeah, it can be as personal as you want in the press conference, but once you get in there, David Benavidez is not the type of guy who's going to relent. He's not the type of guy who's going to back down. He's definitely not the type of guy who's going to stay down if you put him down. So you don't want to make it a close range fight. I think Morrell's bread and butter will be at range. That's what I think. Adaptability. Who's more adaptable? I think Morrell's more adaptable. I think he's more, I don't know. I think Morrell's more adaptable. Will it serve him in this fight? I don't know, because here's the thing about David Benavidez. When he's in the ring with you, I feel like he searches the hearts of men. Like, David Benavidez is the type of guy who's going to be in there with you and who's going to make you question, do I want to continue doing this as a career? He's that type of guy. It's like a Miguel Cotto type of guy. They're going to make you ask those questions, those internal questions. Triple G, I mentioned him earlier. He's going to make you ask internal questions. Evander Holyfield, he's going to make you ask internal questions. Do I want to be here? Do I want to be here? Vasily Lomachenko, do I want to be here? They're going to make you ask those questions. And I think that's what David Benavidez does very well. Durability, who's more durable? David Benavidez all day. Strong Mexican warrior, big, strong Mexican warrior all day long. Yeah, he's definitely more durable. He's been put down. He's been hit with bombs. You know, he's been hit with everything but the kitchen sink, and he just kept pressing forward, kept marching forward. Got to go with David Benavidez when it comes to durability. Cardio. You know what? I'm also going to go with David Benavidez. I just feel like he gets better as the rounds go by. He's a slow starter, but once he gets cooking, he gets going, you know, and he's not going to slow down. He's just going to keep pressing. And that's another thing about, you know, I'll go back up to when I mentioned mental toughness. It's not easy to deal with a guy who's just not going to stop coming after you. He's not going to stop throwing punches. He's not going to stop marching towards you. He's not going to stop pressing the action. You know, mentally, it does something to you. You know, it's just like, man, I hit that guy with like my best stuff last round, you know. And here he is at the start of this round, and he's running right after me, you know, and it's mentally, it drains you, you know, and then you physically have him in front of you, you know, and got to go with David Benavidez when it comes to cardio. Danger, my favorite category. Who's more dangerous? Well, let's see. I've already said that David Benavidez has more mental toughness. I've also said that he's faced better opposition, and he's faced more opposition. He's got more knockouts. I got to go with David Benavidez. I think it makes the most sense. It makes the most sense. You got to go with David Benavidez. I think he's more dangerous than David Morrell. You know, Morrell hasn't answered the type of questions that the opponents whom Benavidez has faced has answered. You know, or posed for that matter. You know, you get in there with Caleb Plant. And, you know, he was in there with Caleb Plant when Caleb Plant was, like, smoking. You know, I mean, Demetrius Andrade was undefeated. You know, what are you going to say to that? Like, he was undefeated. So, yeah, he's definitely more dangerous. He can get you out of there. And he's one of those guys who's pressing with an objective to get you out of there. He's not pressing with the objective to just simply win. He's not pressing with the objective to get more points. He's not pressing with the objective to impress the judges. He's pressing with the objective to get you out of there. Got to go with David Benavidez when it comes to danger. Looking at my tally, I have David Benavidez winning. I mean, keys to victory, I think if he just presses Morrell, he's bigger than him naturally. You know, listen, your strategy thus far, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And thus far, I'm just going to mow these guys down. I'm going to beat them with punch output. I'm going to just be relentless. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to be an ongoing onslaught of juggernaut. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to keep going forward. And usually people succumb to that. I don't see why David Morrell, based upon whom he's faced, would be no different, to be honest with you. I'm not saying he's not good. I just think that there's levels to this thing. And I think David Benavidez, he's hot right now. But on top of that, he's the guy.